What is up, everyone? I'm Ryan from Fireside Yankees, joined by my friend and co-host, Sam, the one and only Sam Lucchini. The Yankees are coming off of a absolute beatdown from the Boston Red Sox to lose their 8th straight game to Boston. And we're going to answer your questions for Mailbag Monday. Sam, I don't know what else to say. This has been really a tough watch. Maybe they end up getting swept Sunday. You might be witness to that. Or maybe they actually win a game against the Red Sox. But how are you feeling? I'm assuming it's not very good.
This is the same team earlier this week that hit 9 home runs. We're recording this on Saturday after the 12-1 beatdown, so they just lost 3 straight games to the Boston Red Sox. Pretty bad. I think that is pretty much how you can sum up the majority of, Yankees universe right now and how everybody's feeling. Like, this is a really poor performance from a team that realistically over the last 2 to 3 months has really, really struggled. When they can't hit, when they can't hit, they pitch. When they can't pitch, they hit. They cannot figure it out whatsoever. It's kind of ugly all across the board. And the questions that we got, again, thank you guys for submitting this week on Instagram, are very centric to, what's going on and a lot of the issues that we have personally with this organization and kind of how they've played out this season and why they're struggling so much. So, again, if you guys want to submit a question every week, follow our Instagram at Fireside Yankees. We drop a story post towards the end of the week. So, last week we did this on Friday. This week we did it on Friday too. So, we'll take your questions, we'll go through them, and we like to answer them for you. So, awesome support last week on the first episode, guys. We appreciate that very much. I think that did like 5,000 views on YouTube, which is huge for us, which is great. And then on social media is on the Clips Crushed. So thank you guys for that. But without further ado, I would like to get into the questions. Ryan, I'm going to read off a question, and then you're going to answer, then I'm going to answer. That's how this is going to work. Okay? So let's do it! Our first question here comes from @Brady99 Webstar on Instagram. And a lot of these questions are a lot of repeated things that you guys ask because I think everybody kind of has the exact same concerns right now. And this question is, are the Yankees going to miss the playoffs this year? It's kind of a loaded question. Down the stretch, it's kind of a weird schedule. They play everybody kind of difficultly, and then their back half, is sort of a cakewalk. So, Ryan, do you think that I kind of baked this into a larger question? Do you think that this team is going to miss the playoffs potentially? Because that could still happen. And if they do make the playoffs, how far do you think realistically this team can go?
I think make it and lose in the wild card round. Until I see the New York Yankees play a big game and not make a million mistakes, I'm going to assume they're going to keep playing big games and making a million mistakes. This stems back to the postseason. I know the ALCS went great for the Yankees, but we also did see like a plethora of really ugly errors in those games. Granted, didn't end up mattering. You were clearly better than Cleveland, but when you played a team that was your caliber or better in the World Series in the Dodgers, all of those mistakes came back to haunt you. If you didn't play that kind of baseball, you might have won the World Series. You look at the wild card kind of structure. The Yankees may end up playing a road series. If you play the Red Sox in Fenway, they're going to massacre you. They've massacred you here in Yankee Stadium. They killed you in Fenway. I doubt you're going to take a series from the Red Sox in Fenway with Garrett Crochet going in Game 1. So, yeah, wild card exit. I like the offense, though. I think the team can handle. They've been awful in this series. But the thing that I think concerns me, Sam, and I don't know how comfortable we're ready to have this conversation, but I'm worried that the Yankees are a team with good hitters anchored by a great hitter. Now, Stan has also been great this year, but there's one generational hitter on this team. And I don't know if that you're going to get generational production from that hitter in the postseason. We have never gotten that, really ever, in a sustained playoff run. So I'm going to bank on their history, and their history suggests no, they will not. They will get there, which I think they will, and they'll lose in the wild card round.
Yeah, Aaron Judge's postseason successes or failures, have kind of been well documented. Everybody talks about it. But I think that, it's kind of a weird question when you talk about if they can make the playoffs or not. This team has struggled, like I said earlier, the past 2 to 3 months with pretty much everything. The only thing that's really looked great is the offense and certain spurts. And then realistically, there are some games with this team where they go out like they did this week and they hit 9 home runs. And then this weekend they go completely silent. They can't hit anybody. here are the facts with the Yankees right now. They can't beat teams that are over 500. They cannot beat good baseball teams. They've shown us this time and time again, and they just showed us this again this week against the Boston Red Sox. It's poor. It's flat out poor. They're not doing their jobs right now. It is ugly baseball all around, right? They can't even beat their divisional opponents, okay? So you can't beat the Blue Jays. You can't beat Boston. They play well against Tampa Bay, which is fine, and then Baltimore's kind of in the gutter, so like whatever, but they cannot beat their divisional rivals right now. And if you can't do that, I don't necessarily know how you expect to get down, into the playoff stretch and be able to make a run, even get into the playoffs at that rate. I agree with you. I think that they do make the playoffs. But Ryan, when you look at this schedule over the rest of the season, it's kind of brutal when you really think about it. So they just got done the Boston series. Granted, this is on Saturday, so they're going to be done once this goes up. They're going to be done with Boston. They'll play them Sunday night, whatever. Who knows if they win that game? Honestly, who really cares at this point? So they'll play Washington and Chicago. But then after that, for the first 2 weeks of September, you play Houston, you play Toronto, you play Detroit, and then you play Boston again. You finish with Minnesota, you finish with Baltimore, you finish with Chicago again, and then you finish with Baltimore again, right? But realistically, this team might be dead after the first 2 weeks of September, because this is a really tough run for them to go play Houston, Toronto, the Tigers, the Red Sox again. Like, they've already shown us that they can't beat good baseball teams. And if they go into the beginning of September and they have to play those types of opponents like we've seen them do all year, which they've had zero success to, I'm not necessarily sure if they can even get that far. But my gut right now tells me that, yeah, sure, they'll sneak into the American League wildcard, but are they going to get out of that? No, absolutely not. Right now, it's piss poor all across the board, from an organizational standpoint, from the offense to the pitching to the defense, mind you. It is fundamental Little League stuff that they continuously mess up with. And it's unbelievably frustrating as a fan, because we sit down, we invest time in this team, and we watch them every single day do what they do, and to not put in that sort of effort on the field, it's heartbreaking as a fan. Genuinely, it's heartbreaking. So I think that they can sneak in. I think it makes sense that they sneak in because they have the talent on paper to be able to do that. But will they have success in the playoffs? Absolutely not. Not with the way this team's constructed, not the way that they've played this year. I do not have any faith right now, especially after this weekend, that they will do anything in October and then into November. Like, you cannot convince me right now that this is a team that can even win a playoff series. It's just not going to happen. This is a different ball club from last year.
Yeah, I second everything you said. And, we're going to have some defense conversations, I know, later in the episode. But, again, just like this is the most embarrassing weekend of Yankee baseball I've watched in quite some time. And I feel like I've said that numerous times throughout the season. This is a joke. You got swept in Toronto, you got swept in Fenway, and you might get swept in New York, depending on what happens Sunday, which we won't know of. That's a joke. I would fans, and I rarely get to this point. I think most times fans are entitled because we're Yankee fans. We see a lot of winning or whatever. I think fans are paying Apple prices for Motorola. They're paying for AirPods Max, and they're getting the $30 earbuds you pick up at a Target. That's simply what you're getting. This group stinks in these big games, and there's a lot of money invested in these players. There's a lot of money spent on player development, a lot of money spent on coaching, a lot of money that fans pay to go to these games, to put on jerseys, to get tickets for loved ones, whatever it may be. Just pathetic. It really is pathetic. It's an embarrassment to the franchise and to the uniform.
Yeah, the product on the field doesn't live up to expectation. I think that you kind of contextualize that perfectly because, we go to these games and we spend hundreds of dollars every year on this team to go out, to go do that. Imagine today was somebody's first Yankee game that they've ever gone to, right? Say they flew across the country and went to this game today, and they're like, oh, I get to see my favorite team. I'm probably never going to be able to do this again. And you watch them get spanked, absolutely spanked, by a Boston Red Sox team like that. That is awful. That's awful to even think about, right? We're blessed because we're able to go all the time and go to the games and pay attention on all that kind of stuff. But the product that's on the field is abysmal. It's unbelievably bad right now. And this can kind of flood into our next question that I have for you, Ryan. We're going to start kind of digging into some specifics with some players because people are at fault here. I think that, as an organization, they haven't played well, like I said, over the past 2 to 3 months, but it's not just because, it's the group as a whole. We already talked about Giancarlo Stanton. He's been unbelievable. That guy has been nuts since he's came back. He's legitimately kind of carried this team over the past 3 weeks to even wins. But there are individuals that are kind of at fault here, and there are some questions that, people wanted to propose to us, and a name that has kind of been brought up, and we hear about this all the time, is about Anthony Volpe, and the struggles that he's had this year, the decline that he's had from year 2 to year 3, which have been really poor. I'm going to let you kick this one off. So this kind of, we've kind of had our backroom discussions about Anthony Volpe and Jose Caballero and Ahmed Rosario and these types of players. So this one comes from __Ford Eli on Instagram. Should Jose Caballero take Volpe or Jazz's position, and does Ahmed Rosario deserve more time? So I'm going to let you kick that off. I know it's kind of a loaded question, and there's a lot of different avenues that we can go into there. We can what I really want to talk about is talk about Anthony Volpe and his struggles and really what that's meant to this team this year.
Yeah, Anthony Volpe's taken a step back across the board defensively. The Yankees rank 25th in outs above average as an infield, and that is entirely on Volpe. I know that you've had the stretch where Jazz was playing third. That wasn't great. You had the stretch where you were playing DJ at second, and he wasn't great there. I know that, at first, sometimes you get some shaky production defensively, but overall, I'm okay with it. McMahon's been awesome defensively. Jazz been awesome at second defensively. Volpe has had a negative 21 OAA gap, outs above average, that being, from last year. He's dropped by negative 21 outs. That's crazy. So when you have a bad defensive shortstop who isn't hitting, you don't play that player. Because you're not getting elite defense, you're not getting any offense. Last year, we actually sat here around this time and defended Anthony Volpe because for all of the offensive warts, he was a premium defender at a premium position who was on pace to steal 30 bases. Jose Caballero is not a world beater offensively. He's a career 90 WRC plus, OPS plus kind of hitter. He's going to be 10% below the league average offensively. But unlike Volpe, an elite level base runner, and a very solid defender at shortstop. +3 defensive runs saved, +8 fielding run value, +6 outs above average at shortstop in his career. It's about 1,000 innings, so a little bit under a career or a full season of play there. But if I got 3 defensive runs saved, 8 fielding run value, and 6 outs above average for my shortstop with 40 steals and a 90 OPS plus, I'm going to be a much better baseball team. Sam, it's not about whether the shortstop's going to come in and hit 50 home runs or have a 900 OPS. It's about making the routine plays. That's all we're asking for. We're not asking for anything crazy. Just make the routine plays. Go out there and be a productive defender, be a productive base runner. I don't think Jazz's playing time is going to be threatened. I don't see a world where the Yankees start putting Caballero over him, but should Rosario have pinch hit for Chaz in the 7th inning a couple nights ago? Absolutely. Absolutely. Ahmed Rosario rocks against lefties. I don't know why he's on the team if he's not going to hit in those situations. Even when he's been here, I know it's been a brief time, but Sam, he's just killed every lefty we've put him up against. I remember the game in Texas, 2 hits. Today, 2 hits. He's going to end up, he's a career 300, I think he's a career 300 hitter against left-handed pitching with an 800 OPS. I ran the numbers. If you extrapolated it over 600 plate appearances, all of his left-handed pitching numbers, he'd have 30 plus doubles. He currently has an OPS over 800. I don't see how he doesn't get those at bats. So yes, I want Boone to use Rosario more aggressively against lefties. And most importantly, Jose Caballero needs to be the primary shortstop. I need a defender at shortstop. I need routine plays made. Sam, I can't watch what I watched today. I can't watch what I watched yesterday. I can't watch what I've watched all year from Anthony Volpe defensively.
Yeah, so I'll kind of tap on all of these names that you just spoke on. Jazz's playing time, I don't think, should be diminished at all. I think that there are certain spots where he doesn't work as far as, for a pinch hit. There are some points of times where I think the Cab works better there or Rosario works there. So, but I don't think Jazz should be unearthed from his starting second baseman role. I think he's been fine defensively. And then when there's been points of times where you've gotten very elite second base production from him at the plate. So I think Jazz is perfectly okay. The Rosario conversation kind of floods into our next question, which we'll tap onto as well. But I think that Ahmed Rosario should play against left-handed pitching, just like you mentioned. I think that's kind of the best way to go about him. And when he doesn't, it's poor for your baseball team. You're essentially not putting your best nine on the field. So if you have a left-handed pitcher and there's a lane to play Ahmed Rosario, you need to play Ahmed Rosario. It's kind of the bottom line. And I'll kind of go back to where this conversation started with Anthony Volpe. You and I sat here last year and defended Anthony Volpe because, hey, this is what Volpe gives you. Volpe gives you a lead defensive shortstop. He's going to give you a 90 WRC plus. It's not all about the bat, but if he can play great defense, if he can swipe bags, if he can do this, he can do that. He's a valuable player and he's fine at shortstop. That is why we defended him last year, is because the defense was there. The defense is now not there. So you have a complete net negative as a baseball player playing for you every single day, right? We saw it today with their lineup, okay? I understand Volpe's going to go up against the left-hander. It doesn't make sense to sit the righty against the lefty. I get it. Perfectly understood. But you've seen this all year where this guy, he will not take a day. He won't sit down. Guys, this is year 3 Anthony Volpe. Last year he was a 3.5 win player. He's not even worth a full win this season. And this entire thing is all about his defense, because he's a career 90 WRC plus hitter, Ryan. Like, this is not a player that's going to provide you with elite offensive production, right? And we knew that. We've known this for 3 years, that he wasn't going to be a positive bat. And that was fine when he played elite Gold Glove level defense like he did in year 1 when he won the Gold Glove in year 1, right? And that was great. He's fine for your baseball team at that point. You can stick him in the 8-9 slot. He's not going to be able to hit, but he's going to play great defense. Now that the defense is gone, I don't know why he plays every single day. It doesn't make a ton of sense. You should be able to give other people opportunities. I know that Ahmed Rosario is a very poor defender at shortstop, but you could play him there if you wanted to, because at this point, I don't know who's going to play worse defense, whether it's Rosario or Volpe, right? The Cab has to compete with Anthony Volpe right now. He has to at this point. That guy's an elite defender all across the diamond, no matter what. And you've seen better offensive production from the Cab over the past week than you have from Anthony Volpe. Like, it's unbelievable right now what they're doing. I don't know what the mindset is, why this individual cannot be unearthed from that shortstop position. I don't know if it's Boone sticking to his guns. I don't know what's going on in the back rooms. I have no idea. But right now, Anthony Volpe does not deserve to play every single day, and he honestly hasn't deserved to play every single day for probably the past 2 months, because that's really when the defense started to fall off. If there's no defense there for Anthony Volpe, and he's still not hitting, he's one of the most invaluable players in Major League Baseball. There's no value when it comes to Anthony Volpe right now with the way that he's playing. It's unbelievable. It doesn't make any sense to me that he's still there, and there's nothing there stopping him. There's nothing at all.
Yeah, and unlike before, we're like, oh, well, Oswald Peraza's the backup. No one with a brain's going to play Oswald Peraza. You now have a backup shortstop. It falls on the responsibility of Aaron Boone. This is where being a likable person in your clubhouse is supposed to help you, because you're supposed to be able to get your homeroom together and say, putting Caballero at shortstop, everyone fall in line, because they're supposed to respect you. They like you. Like, all those things are supposed to help you in this kind of situation. So, ball's in his court. It's his choice. I think you said everything that I was going to add on in terms of where we're at with Volpe. So, ball's in Boone's court.
We're going to see what happens over the next week, and it's going to be really interesting, because realistically, they're fighting for their lives right now.
Yeah.
And I think if you're not playing your best 9 every single day, then you're doing yourself a disservice. And I think that, Boone is kind of fighting for his job right now, in a sense, because if they kind of crash and burn and they don't look great for the rest of the season, there's going to be a lot of really tough backroom conversations that the New York Yankees are going to have about this team's future, about Aaron Boone's future, and that kind of stuff. So that kind of leads us to our next question, which is kind of perfectly placed. This is from our guy Raul. Shout out Raul. He's at Fireside Yankees. Great guy. Love him to death. This question is Aaron Boone going to be the 2026 Yankee manager? And if not, who do you think it will be? So, Ryan, I'll let you kick it off. I know this is one that is very highly contested. Some people have been screaming this from the rooftops for years that he should be gone. I haven't necessarily been on that train until this year. So I'll kind of get into that at this point. But, Ryan, let me know, dude. So here's actually another way that I would frame this to you. I kind of want you to answer this as well, is what would Boone have to do to save his job? So, like, do you think Boone's going to be here next year, A? And B, what would Boone have to do to save his job for the rest of 2025 to then go into 2026?
Number one, I think Boone will remain. I'm not confident, but I'm leaning that he'll remain. The reason I feel that way is because if you're the Yankees inside your organization, okay. So I know everyone goes like, there's a problem, like there's a clubhouse issue because he keep getting pantsed by good teams, and especially by the Red Sox and the Astros, et cetera, et cetera. That's fair. But if you're the organization, do you pin that all on the manager? I think you could. It's easy to do it. It's very easy to get public support on that. No one's going to rip the Yankees for firing Aaron Boone. But are you going to bring in someone who's vastly different from Aaron Boone? Like, am I going to get a different manager? Am I going to get someone who's going to walk into the clubhouse and shake things up? I don't know. I look at the players and I go, I think it's an entire organizational thing if there is an issue with the Yankees from a mental toughness, kind of whatever standpoint we want to label that as. I know that, we look at, again, I think the teams that we kind of hyper-focus on, the Astros and the Red Sox. Astros have owned you in the postseason. Red Sox have kicked your ass in the regular season for a couple of years now. I think that when it comes to that, the biggest reason why that happens is because you as a team tend to not play well. Judge tends to fall off against the Astros. He's played better against the Red Sox since 2020. Like, I look since 2020, his OPS was over 900 in those matchups. So I'm not going to say the Yankees lose to the Red Sox because Judge doesn't step up in those games. Like, there are games this series particularly where he hasn't, but the greater sample size says he's been fine in those matchups. But it's interesting to me that the entire team, no matter who you change personnel-wise, happens to fall off. I guess I did just talk myself into, like, should you just fire Boone at that point? I don't know. I have a hard time believing they're going to actually do it. When they missed the playoffs, I was like, I guess that's the time to do it, and they extended him a year later. So I think they like Booney. I think they do. I think that they're always going to kind of have this, we like Boone, he's not the problem, we don't want to pay a manager to not manage our team kind of stuff. I think when his contract is up, I don't think they'll pick it up. I think when his contract ends, he's gone. But I think until his contract ends, he's still here.
Yeah, so here's the thing with Aaron Boone is I was an Aaron Boone defender. Even when we were on the radio a couple days ago, I was an Aaron Boone defender. I was like, yeah, like there's certain decisions that I think that he makes, but I think, in general, it's kind of a full organizational thing that, like, certain decisions are kind of out of Boone's hands. He's like kind of the mouth for a lot of what happens inside of that organization, I feel like. Granted, we don't know what happens behind the scenes and what kind of conversations these people have and how information gets sent down to Aaron Boone, and he's just realistically the guy that's kind of like the face, of like what everything happens in the back rooms. Do I think Aaron Boone will go? Probably not, because I think that they love Booney. They'll stick to their guns. But do I think that he should go? Probably. I think it would make the most sense, because right now, especially over the last week, like, you're seeing these mistakes kind of rack up, and they continuously get worse. There's really bad non-pinch hit decisions. There's really bad bullpen decisions. He's not as aggressive as you would necessarily want your manager to be. He kind of teeters, right? The other night, you and I were talking, and I said, and you were like, they should pinch hit for the cab right here. I just don't think Boone's aggressive enough. I think that there are certain points in times where he needs to make the aggressive play, and he won't. I think he's scared to do that because he doesn't want to put it on the table and, like, make a crazy managerial decision that I think that in his head, he's like, I don't want to be in the newspaper tomorrow. Like, I don't want to hear about me making a bad decision. Like, I don't want to hear about this. Like, which makes sense, because realistically, when you think about what Aaron Boone's doing right now, he's kind of managing for his life, because realistically, like, if they don't make the playoffs, if they are a AL wildcard exit, the entire media, the entire fan base is going to be pointing at Aaron Boone. It's like they're not going to point the gun at Aaron Judge. They're not going to point the gun at another player. They're strictly going to point at Aaron Boone. That's going to be, like I said, he's kind of the head. Like, that's where everybody kind of translates their anger to. It all goes to Booney, right? So, do I think that he should go? I think so. But I don't think he will go, just because I think they love him. And I think that another reason why he should go is the thing with Aaron Judge that came out earlier this week, when he was talking about, yeah, like, we don't know if Judge is going to be able to throw out 100% for the rest of the season. And then Judge immediately came out 2 hours later and shot it down. It was like, I don't know why he's saying that. That doesn't make any sense. When you, like, publicly piss off the captain of the New York Yankees and you get publicly called out for it, I think that is the worst move possible for a manager of that caliber, for an organization of that caliber. It's such a bad look to the media. I think a lot of people kind of brush that comment off to the side, like, something, whatever, like, oh, like, I guess Judge is fine, like, yada, 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 whatever. But you and I started asking questions about, like, what is really happening back there? Because for, your best player, your star player, the best player on the planet, to come out and say that about his manager to us was incredibly concerning. And I think that, there's something going on back there that we don't really know about. I think that he's kind of walking on eggshells right now and kind of managing for his life at the moment. So I think he should go. I think it makes sense for the organization as a whole, but I don't think he will because they will stick to their guns. And he has like two more years left on that deal. They didn't fire him last year because they went to the World Series, yada yada yada, whatever. But like, I think he should go. And I've been a big Boone defender for a long time, but it doesn't make sense right now what he's doing. His managerial skills and decisions are very, very lackluster at the moment.
Yeah, I'd have to fully agree in terms of like my gripes with Boone. I also think again, like there's a problem with the fact that they keep making these kinds of mistakes. I think they have more errors than runs for the first 3 games of this series against the Red Sox. They had 11 errors or 12 errors in their games against the Blue Jays. It's just disaster right now. So I think he should go at this point in time, barring the team winning the World Series, which I would consider unlikely. But again, if they do, like that's a fair reason to have a guy keep his job. If I know people might say, well, that's just lucky. Well, I'd rather be lucky. If you asked me, would I keep Boone if it meant a World Series? Yes, but I don't think that's going to happen. So, I would fire him after this year. I just don't think it will happen. I think that's where we're in lockstep.
Yeah, which I think kind of makes sense. And to be honest, I feel like every Yankee fan is kind of in the exact same spot right now of like, well, they should, but they probably won't because they stick to their guns. They always stick to their guns. Like, it's kind of like you said, like they didn't fire him after 23. That 23 team was god-awful, though. I don't think even he could have even done anything to save that season because of how bad that team was. But, again, you go to the World Series last year, it's kind of hard for me to say, like, yeah, like you're out. Like, like you're gone after you blow through the American League. And then, like, you lose in the World Series, obviously, but it's kind of a weird spot, too. And then you immediately extend him afterwards just because he only had the 1 year left in his deal. So, I think he should go, but he probably won't go because that's kind of how it goes in Yankee land with their managers. So, he's managing for his life right now, and I kind of feel bad for the guy because, like, every step that he makes, every wrong move that he makes, it's front page media. It is front page on the newspapers every single morning in New York City. He talks about that a lot as well, as far as, like, how big the New York, media space is and, like, how much everybody gets criticized. Like, it's no joke. Like, if you make a mistake, that will be on the front page. And I think that right now he is very scared of that. And he won't make that sort of aggressive move that we want to see because it's going to be better for the baseball team because he's scared of it. He's kind of, wants to shy away from criticism right now, which, like, I kind of understand to an extent. So we can kind of move on away from Booney. We just got kind of real negative. Talking about Volpe and Boone. So, but we'll move on. So we have 2 more questions. This one comes from King Jamil 216. Thank you for the question, brother. Who do you think will be the September call-ups? Now, I don't think this is going to be a real interesting September call-up list. Like, I know that a couple years ago we saw, like, Jason Dominguez come up and Austin Wells come up. And it was, like, a lot of the young guns that, like, we wanted to see on the back half because that team was dead. I think that this is more about roster flexibility. What do they add 2 extra spots, going into September? I think it's really just going to be kind of a boring group per se. But nonetheless, they'll still be added to the roster and they'll go down to the wire. So, Ryan, as far as the September call-ups, who do you think is going to end up coming up over the next week?
Yeah, so personally, the way I view it, I think that the Yankees are going to end up calling up one of Jake Bird or just bring back Yarbrough. So, like, as you mentioned with roster flexibility, it depends on when Yarbrough's back. If Yarbrough's back before September, I think they're going to just hold him over until September. Makes sense. Like, what is it, the 23rd today? Gives him 7 more days, maybe another rehab start. He's had 2. Gives him 3. Probably not going to come up and immediately be a starter. Probably going to be more of like a multi-inning, save the pen a little bit role. So if I'm the Yankees, I just wait until September, call up Yarbrough. That's your extra pitcher. Cruz will be back and he'll replace Blackburn on Monday. I'm assuming Blackburn's going to get DFA'd. He got lit up to like a Christmas tree. And then I assume that for the position player, it'll be Slater when he's back. I think Ascar will come up first, and then it'll be Slater. Maybe Vivas comes up, but I'd rather have Ascar on the roster just to be able to say, all right, Rice doesn't have to catch as much, just play him at first as often as possible, just to keep the bat in the lineup. It's as you mentioned, it's not going to be Spencer Jones. They don't have like a pitching prospect who's in AAA killing it. Like, they're not calling up Elmer Rodriguez Cruz from AA to make starts. That makes no sense. So as you mentioned, it's going to be a very boring September Rule call-up. Hate to be the bearer of bad news for the Spencer Jones one. He's not coming up, barring like they fall out of it or they have like 50 injuries in the outfield.
Yeah, it's just not gonna happen. Like I said, it's a very boring list. It's like a lot of like veterans, but like again, it kind of adds your depth. When Yarbs comes back, I think that he could be a multi-inning guy, which is gonna be great for them, just because like it's kind of like what they need right now, realistically, to kind of be able to burn games and like keep it safe. Like I think if like for example today, like if it wasn't Paul Blackburn and it was Yarbs instead, like maybe they come out of that a little bit better and it would have been 5-1 and it doesn't look like you like completely rolled over today. But Blackburn going out there and giving up 7 was rough. And then yeah, I think that Slater eventually comes up again as well because he's hurt right now and he's supposed to be. Realistically, he probably would be playing a lot of right field right now if he was healthy because of the whole Stanton Judge thing. But yeah, it's a very boring list of call-ups just because like Spencer Jones isn't coming up or like anybody like that. So I think that they'll be able to add more depth and have a little bit more flexibility as far as what they can do with their pitching staff as well. They're going to end up getting Cruz back this week too. He should be activated either tomorrow. So today's Saturday. It could be Sunday or Monday, so like Cruz will be back at some point. And that's like an elite level arm that you're adding back to your bullpen. He was awesome at the beginning of the season and just missed a ton of time. So yeah, you're just kind of adding flexibility. You're just kind of expanding your roster. Not to be no pun intended when I say that, but you're getting it's a larger roster, but nothing crazy is going to happen. So. Yeah, sorry guys, pretty boring answer realistically on that question, just because like there's nothing like crazy gonna happen.
Yeah.
So, we will move to our last question, and I think that this one's interesting just because last week we kind of talked about 2026 and what this offseason could look like and what the winner's going to be, and obviously I threw up my crazy theory about what they could do in the outfield, which would be unbelievably nuts, and you guys went crazy in the comment section talking about that thing. But this question comes in from international_Dez on Instagram. Now this has to do with the first base position. So this is Munetaka Murakami an upgrade from Paul Goldschmidt, and how would he fit in this lineup? I will also add Ben Rice into that conversation because he is you look at 2026, he would be your first baseman. Murakami's going to hit the pool this winter and probably come stateside this year. He's been a prospect that people have kind of had their eyes on for a very long time, at this point probably 4 or 5 years, he comes with a lot of raw power, but there's definitely some negatives with Munetaka Murakami as a hitter. Brian, I'm sure that you're going to end up diving into that. So do you think that realistically, if they were to sign Munetaka Murakami, how would he kind of fit on this roster, and how do you think that, where would he fit in the organization, not even on the roster, in the organization specifically? And what would that mean for, a Paul Goldschmidt, who I don't even know if they bring back next year, and even like a Ben Rice? For Ben Rice, I think he's going to be the primary first baseman next year. I think he's better than Munetaka Murakami as things stand right now. The other thing I'd like to point out, I don't know how to put this nicely. Murakami can't make contact. His contact rate has decreased every single year over the last 5 years. That's really alarming. How am I supposed to trust a guy who's not making a lot of contact against, guys throwing 92? He struggles against velocity. It's kind of like, and I compared him to Roki Sasaki in a video I did recently here on FSY, and some people are like, well, we're so early into Sasaki's career. Yeah, but there are some clear warts in his game. Like, the problem with Roki Sasaki is he's not going to make a start for the Dodgers in the postseason. That's a problem this year. It might not be a problem in 2 years, but it's a problem this year. And if you sign Murakami, it's not with the intent of developing him, most likely. It's probably with the intent of, or I think fans view it as with the intent of, he's helping you. I view it as you're signing him to get him better and to stash him for a little bit and let him kind of work out the warts in his game. Murakami is going to strike out 40% of the time in the big leagues, facing 95, 96 mile per hour fastballs at the top of the zone. Unlike Spencer Jones, he doesn't have like 60-plus speed in terms of a 2080 grade. He doesn't play a premium defensive position. Like, if Murakami is a league average MLB hitter, Murakami's not very valuable to your baseball team. So, Sam, to put it lightly, I think his role in the organization, if they signed him, would be put him in AAA, let him kind of get some time there. Maybe he wins a job in spring training, but I wouldn't view him as an MLB impact player on April 1st, 2026. Yeah, I think that people were kind of salivating over him after the, 53 or 55 homer campaign in 2022, which was really cool. And then he obviously went and played in WBC, and everybody loved watching him out there, and he was really impressive. Like, I remember he had the big hit against Mexico, I think. That was really cool. Game-winning double, I think, which was an awesome moment for him. And then, he was kind of introduced to the national stage at that point, but, like, us baseball freaks kind of knew who he was. But I'm 100% in lockstep with you. Like Munetaka Murakami, if the Yankees were to sign him, Ben Rice is the everyday first baseman and should be for the next 5 years. We kind of talked a lot about that last week. Is like, hey, Rice needs to play every single day. Ben Rice played every single day this week, and he was amazing all week. And I think that should be the case moving forward. As far as Goldschmidt, I don't think that that's a player that they even bring back next year. I don't think his name shouldn't even really be thrown into that hat. But I think with Murakami, my fucking brake light, bro, this thing is so bad, dude. Oh my god. Okay, all right, I'll restart it now. But I think with Murakami, if he is to enter the organization, I think I'm 100% in agreement with you. He's like a player that, he's a 35% strikeout rate guy. Like some people call him Japanese Spencer Jones just because he strikes out so much and hits a ton of bombs, which is like really cool. But like he's a 35% strikeout guy. Like if you are whiffing that much, if you're striking out that much over there, I don't necessarily know how that's going to translate at the big league level. Like we're going to be staring down the barrel of Joey Gallo 2.0 essentially if he plays for this team next year, which like I don't want to see. I don't think you don't want to see it. It would be really poor at the big league level. Granted, a lot of time could happen. This is a 2026 thing that we're talking about. You know what I mean? Like we don't even know if the player's going to land on the roster yet. We have no idea. But I don't think that his role in the organization would be huge to start off. I think he'd be a AAA stash. Like he would be a project. I think that's kind of the best way that I would describe Munetaka Murakami because, like maybe he's great in a couple of years and like, once you're off the Stanton money, then like you're looking at Murakami as your DH. Like, sure, like we'll see what happens. Like this is multiple years down the line. Like he's 25 years old. You're going to have him for a while at that point. But I don't think they're going to end up paying a premium for him just because of the position that he plays. He's not a great defender. He's not a speed guy. He's not a big arm pitcher like a Yamamoto or a Roki was, who were like very highly demanded because how great their arms were. He's a first baseman. You see modern day first baseman now, like they don't really get paid. Like it just doesn't happen. And if you're going to sign an international free agent from Japan who, yes, has plus power and can absolutely mash. He's not a great defender, not a speed guy like I mentioned, so they're not going to pay a premium for him. He's a AAA stash if he does come over here. I think that fans are very excited because of what they see on Twitter highlights and what his MLB The Show card looks like compared to the product that's actually on the field out there in Japan. So, yeah, I don't think he's going to play a massive role in this team in 2026 if he's here.
Yeah, I'm going to say the first thing I want to kind of throw here about Murakami. And Sam, I don't want to just dog on the guy, but let's be honest about what you're going to pay him. Median outcome for him, if you just talk about first baseman, the median outcome for first baseman, how many guys are like stars? I guess is the best way to put it. Like how many guys are stars? How many guys are like really good baseball players at first base? Numbers, like the list of players is not huge. You look at center field, look at shortstop, like there are like 15 dudes who like you're happy to have them be your everyday player there. First base, it's closer to like 8, 9. If you get the 12th, look at Paul Goldschmidt. Paul Goldschmidt is like the 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th probably best first baseman in baseball this year. And we're not happy like playing him every day. That's just how this goes. So like you're paying him what, $12 million, that being Goldschmidt? How much are you going to pay for Murakami? Like, are you going to pay Murakami $12 million a year? I don't know. I probably wouldn't. I'd rather throw that $12 million at like a reliever. $12 million a year for like 3 years, 4 years might keep Luke Weaver. $3 million for 3 years, 4 years might get you, a quality back end guy. I don't want to spend that on Murakami, So, and if you're Murakami, you're going to play for like $5 million a year in the U.S. You could just stay in Japan and play for good money over there as well. It's not $300 million, but who's giving him $300 million? I guess that's kind of my point here. I wouldn't pay him that. I wouldn't pay him $100 million. I wouldn't pay him $50 million. I wouldn't pay him. Man, I just wouldn't commit a lot of money to this guy. I wouldn't want to commit money and payroll on a contender to that guy right now.
Yeah, I think it makes the most sense just because, kind of the role that we're kind of carving out for him in the organization would be not on the Major League roster. He'd be an optionable player. And, like, we're not comfortable handing that kind of price out. Like, I love that you mentioned the thing with Luke Weaver because, like, you could bring back Luke Weaver with the Murakami money, essentially. He's not, like, coming over and, like, he's not a Hideki Matsui. That's kind of like the baseline of, like, what I look at Munetaka Murakami, and like Matsui's an outfielder as well. Like he could actually move around a little bit. In his earlier days, I know that he ended up going to DH for a while, but like he was an outfielder. Like he had decent speed. Like Murakami is a net negative for you outside of the offensive profile, and the offensive profile even we're scared about. So I don't know if it would be in the best interest for the organization personally. I know that you kind of feel the same way. So, but Murakami, I don't know where he factors into 2026 and then this team's future plans. I think that that's all we have for you folks this week. Guys, I do want to apologize that you had to sit through another grueling, awful week of Yankee baseball, and I also want to thank you for joining us here today, because I hope that we were able to bring a smile to your face in all of this dark, cloudy terror that is the New York Yankees in 2025. So thank you guys very much. Ryan, do you want to close us out?
Yeah, you guys know to check us out on our social media pages, Fireside Yankees everywhere, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, and, of course, this YouTube page. Website, empiresportsmedia.com. We got written coverage over there. And you guys should start getting tapped in with Fireside Baseball. Got some fun stuff going on there. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Sam, appreciate you always joining us for our beautiful Monday episodes. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great rest of your day. Peace out.
Perfect.